What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am Pastor Ryan Dormans, and I am excited to share another topic with you today. And I hope that you will be blessed as we look into an interesting topic concerning Ellen White and a statement that she allegedly made concerning meat eaters not making it to the kingdom of heaven. But before we get into the topic, please consider subscribing to the channel and like this video as well. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into the topic and see what does Ellen White say concerning meat eaters not going to the kingdom of heaven. So first question that we need to ask ourselves is, who was Ellen White, or who is Ellen White? So she is one of the many co-founders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She is recognized as having a prophetic gift. Although she never referred to herself as a prophet, she generally refers to herself as the messenger of the Lord, or a messenger of the Lord, but she never referred to herself as a prophet. Let's move on here. So she has written extensively about various topics and contributed to the formation of the SDA church life and doctrine. So here's the thing, right? We have Ellen White, who is one of the co-founders of the SDA Church. I encourage you, I'm not going to get into a lot of information concerning the history of the Adventist Church in this video, but I encourage you to read concerning where the church comes from, who was Ellen White, who are the co-founders, because the reason why I'm saying that is because there are many people who are under the impression that Ellen White was the only founder of the Adventist Church. There were many other people who were instrumental in the formation of this church in America, and also coming here into Africa and other parts of the world. So I encourage you to do some reading before you make any conclusions that Ellen White is this and Ellen White is that. Get into the study of the history of the church before you come to any conclusions. And as always, make sure that your foundation is the Word of God. Okay, so let's continue here to see the main crux of our lesson today. So we're talking about Ellen G. White and health reform, right? So Ellen White has written a lot about health reform, especially concerning our diet. Besides the prophetic utterances that she's done, besides the commentaries that she's done on the Word of God, she has written a lot about health reform, okay? As we move on in my channel, I will try and explore various topics concerning Ellen White and concerning the history of the Adventist Church and various other topics. But today we are looking specifically at the health reform message of Ellen White. So she has received visions concerning healthy living and eating habits. Some have suggested that Ellen White states that meat eaters will not enter the kingdom of heaven. So I'm approximately about 10 years in ministry now, and a common comment that I hear quite often is that meat eaters will not be making it to the kingdom of heaven. The correct term that is used is that meat eaters will not be translated when Jesus comes. In other words, they will not be translated from this earthly body to the heavenly body when Jesus comes. Today, I need to look at that statement and see, did she actually say that? What did she mean if she said it? And those sort of things. Let's analyze what she said concerning that, and if it's actually true, because a lot of people misquote Ellen White to say whatever they want her to say, okay? And hopefully by the end of this video, we will have some clarity on as to whether or not she actually said it, or what did she actually say. Okay, let's move on here, right? So she does advocate for a primary vegetarian diet. So let's move on here. Let's look at one statement that she makes in the book Ministry of Healing. She says grains, fruits, nuts, and vegetables constitute the diet chosen for us by our Creator. These foods, prepared in as simple and natural a manner as possible, are the most healthful and nourishing. So this is one of the statements that she makes concerning a basic vegetarian diet. So grains, fruits, nuts, vegetables, these things constitute the diet chosen by God for us, okay? So she's obviously talking about what was mentioned in the beginning in the book of Genesis, and she primarily focuses on leading people back to that type of diet. So very important to understand her main premise is that she is focusing on leading people back to the original diet that God created in the Garden of Eden. So let's move on and look at another statement that she makes here in Minister of Healing again, page 311. It says, the diet appointed man in the beginning did not include animal food, not till after the flood, when every green thing on the earth had been destroyed, did man receive permission to eat flesh. So it's very important to understand that Ellen White advocates for a vegetarian diet. So as we move on, keep that in mind, okay? So, very important for us to consider today is the fact that does Ellen White teach that meat eaters are not going to heaven? Like I said, I've heard this mentioned quite often in churches, amongst members, amongst Christians, especially Christians who believe in the writings of Ellen White. So, what does she say? Here is her controversial statement, which many people suggest states that meat eaters are not making it to the kingdom of heaven. Let's read it and see for ourselves what she's saying. She says, among those who are waiting for the coming of the Lord, meat eating will eventually be done away. Flesh will cease to form a part of their diet. We should ever keep this end in view and endeavor to work steadily towards it. I cannot think that in the practice of flesh eating, we are in harmony with the light which God has been pleased to give us. So, from this text here, many people have suggested that meat eaters are not making it to the kingdom of heaven. Okay, let's look at the text a little bit carefully, and this is found in Counsels on Diets and Foods. Let's look at it a little bit carefully and see what is she actually saying. Is she actually saying that meat eaters will not be translated, because the word translated is not used in this quotation? But let's see what she is actually saying. Let's break it down a little bit further and see what she is saying. So, among those, take note, it says, among those who are waiting for the coming of the Lord. Meaning now, there's a group that is waiting for the coming of the Lord, and among those people who are waiting for the coming of the Lord, meat eating will eventually be done away. So she is not saying amongst everyone who is waiting for the Lord. She's saying among those who form part of those who are waiting for the coming of the Lord. So there's a percentage, she is saying, there's a percentage of those among those who are waiting for the coming of the Lord. Among them, they will do away with meat eating. So very important to understand how she is saying it and the words that she is actually using. So among those who are waiting for the coming of the Lord, meat eating will eventually be done away. So let's look at the words that actually come before the statement. It says, again and again, I have been shown that God is trying to lead us back step by step to his original design, that man should subsist upon the natural products of the earth. And then she says, among those, like I mentioned earlier, who are waiting for the coming of the Lord, meat eating will eventually be done away. So she is not saying that meat eaters will not make it to the kingdom of heaven. She is saying amongst those who are waiting, there's a select group of people who will do away with meat eating. There's nothing in here that suggests that meat eaters won't make it to the kingdom of heaven. So it's very important that we understand what she says in its context. And I feel sorry for Ellen White, because many people read her writings and they misquote her writings, especially out of context, not fully understanding what she was actually trying to say. And I say I feel sorry for her because she's not around to defend herself today. So let's move on and see, what does the Ellen White estate say concerning this statement. So there's a book or statements online, 101 questions on Ellen White and her writings, page 143. This is what the Ellen White estate says. It says some people have turned Mrs. White's description in the first sentence into a prescription, a will be into a have to. But notice the lack of any reference to translation. It is not about things you have to do if you want to be translated. The statement contains no assertion that those who are eating meat will have to die before Jesus comes. Rather, I believe Mrs. White is saying that those preparing for the Lord's coming will want to know what their Father's will is, and it will be their aim to fashion their lives after His design. So this is the statement offered by the Ellen G. White estate. I prefer understanding what she actually said in the text, where she says, among those, not everyone, but among those who are waiting, they will do away with meat eating. So not everyone, but there's a select group of people who will stop eating meat, who are waiting for the Lord's return. But you can go online, you can read more of these questions and answers offered by the Ellen G. White estate. But let's go on and see what else does she say concerning meat eating, because some people suggest that Ellen White stated that eating meat is a sin and that people will not make it to the kingdom of heaven who eat meat. This is what she says in Testimonies for the Church, page 159. We do not mark out any precise line to be followed in diet, but we do say that in countries where there are fruits, grains, and nuts in abundance, flesh food is not the right food for God's people. So once again here, Ellen White is not saying that eating meat is a sin, and she does not tie eating meat to your salvation. Yes, there are other things that she talks about concerning meat, how it affects your mental capabilities, how it affects your healthy living and your physicalities and those sort of things, but she does not tie meat eating to salvation. Very important that we understand that fact, and neither does the Adventist Church. The Adventist Church primarily advocates for vegetarian diet, but they do not teach that eating meat is a sin. If you want to know more about eating meat in the Bible, I will put a link in the description to a Bible study of mine where I talk primarily on eating meat or vegetables in the Word of God. So let us conclude here this evening with our analysis. Number one, Ellen White does not mention anything about translation or those who are going to heaven because of meat eating. So she doesn't say anything concerning if you eat meat, you're going to hell. If you eat meat, you're not going to heaven. Those sort of things. We've read the text, we've understood it, and we know that she is not saying anything about that. So number two, when you compare all her other writings on meat eating, it's clear she does not base salvation on meat eating. So when you put all her writings together concerning meat eating, you can see that she doesn't mention anything about meat eating being a sin or meat eating keeping you out of the kingdom of heaven. Please, I encourage you to read her writings before you come to any such conclusions. All right. And finally, here, she did not say eating meat is a sin, but she did highlight the health risks of eating meat. So what do you think? Do you think that Ellen White taught that eating meat will keep you out of the kingdom of heaven? Do you think that eating meat is a sin? Let me know your comments in the comment section below. And once again, if you like this video, please like it. Subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you again on the next video. God bless and keep well.